Welcome to my non-spoiler review of Star Wars, Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I will have the spoiler review up in just a few hours. First, I wanted to give you guys the non-spoiler review of this film. Now, I know some of you guys are wondering, well, it's a prequel. I mean, how many spoilers can you have? I guess it's a very good point in that it is a prequel. We do know that this film takes place, and I'm sure most of you know if you haven't seen it, it takes place before Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, the first Star Wars movie. And I understand people not really freaking out over spoilers, but I still wanted to make this as a courtesy to those of you who haven't seen it. Plus, there are a lot of really cool surprises in this movie, and a lot of really kind of tragic ones. That's the thing I will say about this film to start off with. This is kind of a bittersweet movie. What I mean by that is this. The movie, the big theme of this movie is hope, right? It really does go right in with the original Star Wars movie, A New Hope. The big theme of this film is hope, and it's a theme that's given to us by several characters over and over and over again in the movie up until the very end. And there's a lot of loss when it comes to hope. But, of course, it's a war movie, and we heard about it being a war movie before it even came out. It's much more like a Saving Private Ryan type of movie, but you can't let that turn you off if you don't like war movies, because this is a war movie in that the action is much more grounded. There isn't a lot of force, I guess, themes in the movie, but there's still a prevalent overarching theme of the Force. It's still Star Wars. So it is a war movie, but it is a Star Wars movie. But with war, you're going to have casualties, and this film certainly does have a few casualties. That's all I'm going to say about that. We'll talk about that more in the spoiler review. Now, the film was directed by Gareth Edwards, and if you guys remember, Gareth Edwards directed Godzilla, the 2014 American one that came out a few years ago with Bryan Cranston. In addition to that, he also did a wonderful little film called Monsters back in 2010. Now, with Godzilla, people were complaining in that film because they didn't see enough Godzilla. Now, if you're going into this movie expecting to see a lot of Darth Vader, the way that Gareth Edwards treats Godzilla is the way that he treated Darth Vader in this film. Okay, and what I mean by that is this. Godzilla in the Godzilla movie, and I'll get to more of this in the spoiler review, he is not seen very much, but when he's seen, it means something, and at the very end, it really means something. It was very similar with Darth Vader here. He does not have a lot of screen time. If you're going into this film expecting it to be a movie about Vader, it's not about Vader, it's about Jyn Erso. The main villain of this movie is Director Krennic. I mean, he is the lead villain, but we do see cameos from Vader, but it's a little more than just a cameo, and I assure you of this, people, without going into spoilers, the little you see of Vader is incredible. It's unbelievable. James Earl Jones reprises the role. We find out some new lore about where Vader is and where he hangs out. We find out some new lore about Vader as a man, and there is other scenes with Vader. I'm not going to get into them because it is a spoiler, but just trust me. It's if you're a Vader fan, you will be satisfied with what he does in the movie. Maybe not with how much time he got, but what he does. So the movie's pretty much not just about Jyn Erso, but the entire Erso family and this small band of rebels that get the plans to the Death Star, which would be used in the original Star Wars for Luke to blow it up. I mean, everybody already knows this. If you saw the promotion, that's what it's about. And the great thing about the film is it's not just about that. It's also about the origins of the Death Star. Now, they go into a lot more detail in the Catalyst book. If you've read that, there's a lot more detail about this in that book. But the movie does cover a lot more of the behind the scenes of how the Death Star was built, how that weak spot was even cultivated, what even happened, and the family that kind of built it, with Director Krennic being the guy in charge, and you seeing a really nice relationship between Krennic and the heroes. Not in a good way. When I say nice, I mean it was done well on film. And also Krennic and some of the other villains, namely Grand Moff Tarkin. Now, we got to talk about Tarkin here in a minute. It's no surprise to anybody because it was announced a year ago. Grand Moff Tarkin is in this movie. Obviously, Peter Cushing has been dead for like 2 decades. This was unbelievable. They actually created a CGI, I guess, motion capture, a hologram illusion of Peter Cushing, and somebody, I gotta check who it is, I actually don't know who it is off the top of my head, did the voice and sounded exactly like Peter Cushing. This was, okay, you could tell it was CGI, okay, because we all have eyes, we can tell, but it was so good that I can't even complain. Like, I've never seen anything so realistic before in my life. Every other attempt at this has been mixed results. The Deadpool, the X-Men Origins Wolverine, we saw them DH Patrick Stewart, right? Another one is in Ant-Man, they DH Michael Douglas. Here, it's a new level. They took an actor who's been dead and they literally recreated him. And then now I'm wondering, like, when actors die, do they really die? Like, do they really die? Because now I feel like they did this. What if they bring Marlon Brando back or Robin Williams? What if these actors can be remade as CGI models? They captured this so well. It was creepy. It was legit creepy as to how good they got it. But again, the naked eye can tell the difference, okay? Action-wise, let me just share this with you guys, non-spoiler. The movie's pretty much non-stop action. It really is. There's a couple of downtime scenes here and there. K2SO is my favorite character from this movie. His one-liners are freaking killer. He's witty. He's awesome. He's awesome. But, you know, he steps in sometimes during the downtime, but the film is pretty much non-stop action. It is very different from any other Star Wars film in the way that it's directed and handled, in that it feels like Star Wars. The music it was not John Williams, but the composer was very, very, very close. I really enjoyed the soundtrack. I've heard some people criticize it. I disagree completely. The soundtrack was amazing. And I felt that the film had different kind of directorial styles. And what I mean by that is this. Like, in the movie, there's no opening crawl. Right? Everybody already knows that. It was kind of jarring. I'm not going to lie, I'm still a little salty about it, but I got over it. Also, when they go to a new planet, they tell you the name of the planet at the bottom of the screen. Now, obviously, a lot of movies do this. A lot of, you know, like you see the name, like, you know, the name of where they're at, like it tells you where they're at. But Star Wars has never done this before, right? So we're seeing new kinds of filmmaking, new kind of, you know, different kind. It's basically taking the Star Wars story. It's a familiar Star Wars film, but expounding out how they do it. So again, the action sequences are unbelievable. The space battle in this movie is, in my opinion, the best Star Wars space battle since the one at the end of Jedi. Like, it might even be better. I have to watch it again to really give you a real opinion on that, because it was just, we saw things in this movie that I never thought we would see. And also, the big thing too is that there's so much Star Wars lore in this film. So if you are a casual Star Wars fan, you're really not going to enjoy it as much as a hardcore fan. There's mention of things like Kyber crystals and the Journal of the Wills, like all this really great stuff. There's little Easter eggs to other movies, specifically episodes 3 and 4. There's planets that are familiar. There's references to other movies. There's cameos. So if you are very familiar with the original 6 movies, yes, you will like that more. If you're familiar with the books and the lore, you'll like it even more than that. And if not, you'll probably still like the movie, but you're not going to get the full impact of what they were trying to do. So that's it for my non-spoiler review. One more thing, too. I thought that Felicity Jones as Jyn Erso was okay. I don't think she was anywhere near what Daisy Ridley did as Rey last year. The characters I thought were all pretty fine. I had no real issue with any of them. They all kind of got their little moment to shine. I wish the movie was a little bit longer maybe to flesh some of them out, but that's fine. I mean, it didn't bother me at all. I love movies where you have a ragtag group of, you know, I guess rebels trying to accomplish something, and then you see who lives and who dies, and they're all kind of different characters. This movie definitely did that. So, great movie. If you are a Star Wars fan, especially if you're a fan of A New Hope, I don't see how you won't like this movie. And if you didn't like Force Awakens last year, I think you might like this one, because it really is very different movie in a good way. I don't know which one I like more, because they're both really, really good. So that's it. Go see the movie. If you've already seen it, definitely stay tuned, because I'm going to have my spoiler review coming out where we can actually get into some of the things that I really liked and did not like about the movie without worrying about somebody being spoiled. And again, it is a prequel. It does take place before Episode 4, so we know the outcome of the story as far as like what happens at the end of Return of the Jedi. Like, we know that Vader is redeemed. We know all that. But there are still key plot elements within this story that I think is very good. And there's so many throwbacks to that first Star Wars movie. I mean, like I said, if you're a fan of A New Hope, the movie will blow your mind. You know, it really, and the CGI was all very well done, more practical effects. It was just, I'm telling you, the third act was crazy. I don't want to repeat myself because whatever. That's it. Thank you again for supporting Geekdom 101. I've been so busy lately. Thank you guys for your support as always. It means so much to me, and for your patience. And spoiler review coming soon. If you're going to leave a comment, please leave spoiler-free comments. We'll talk about it more in depth in the spoiler review. I'll talk to you guys later on.